What's going on, everybody? Your host, AMF1534 here. We can put it off no longer. There's no other choice Okay, actually, there's totally another choice left, but we're not doing it today, so that is 112% a lie directly to the front of your skull and coming out of my face. So, welcome back to Let's Play some more Gran Turismo, the ultimate driving simulator. Here we go. God, it just hit me today that I was going to have to do this, so I went from being in a fairly decent mood to just being all sorts of bummed out. Tonight, we get to start what I am going to coin as Endurance Race Mania. We're going to go to the All Night 2 challenge because it's the one that doesn't involve racing special models. I was going to say spacing Reschel models. Apparently I can't say anything correctly anymore. So, oh good. Oh good. I don't know how many laps this is going to be, but it's the only answer that needs to be for that question, even though it wasn't really in the form of a question, so it wouldn't work on Jeopardy, but it is way too many laps. That is how many laps we're going to be doing on this, is way too fucking many. However, it looks like we've got this thing in the bag before it has even begun, so that is always the greatest news to know. There's really no point in doing the qualifier lap, no sense in giving myself one more to add to this infinite pile of crap that we're going to be subjected to. So grab your pallet of popcorn, grab like your case of Nutella and whatever you would put that on. I don't think people are going to be putting Nutella on their popcorn because that simply doesn't sound very good. Even though, I don't know, chocolate popcorn, that's like almost caramel corn, really. Chocolate hazelnut covered popcorn, that could be okay. 30? Oh, God, it's so many. Oh, and these laps are long. Oh, jeez. Just, oh, man, tie me up to one of those freaking torture racks and feed me bastard nachos, you know? It was one of the greatest terms that I heard today. I was listening to some sports radio on my way home from doing book work today at my aunt's bistro, and these guys were talking about like, what's your what's your favorite thing to eat at at like a high school football game, and they were talking about like, well, you know, getting a burger's pretty good, getting the hot dog's pretty good, and one of the guys was like, you know, for me, just because I don't like to, you know, eat all, you know, extra heavily when I'm trying to get into a game and, you know, start cheering and jumping up and down all this stuff, you know, for my son's team, when I'm, you know, totally loaded to the brim with burgers and hot dogs. He's like, so popcorn's kind of my jam. Like you can it's something you can just munch on for a while and everything's all good. But one of the guys, he's like, you know, my favorite thing, even though it doesn't really taste that good, is totally the bastard nachos. And the guys are like, the bastard nachos? What the hell are you? What the hell are those? He's like, oh, you know which ones I'm talking about. The ones that have the not real cheese at all, that, you know, they get out of that big old can, they just put in the heating, you know, in like that heating plate, and and they put it in like the slot with like that really gross, disgusting salsa that's just there, that they probably got from like a Safeway, that's just like their private label one that tastes like crap. And then they got those weird, awkwardly like kind of stale circular, you know, corn chips that have like weird like grill marks on them almost. And they just put those in there, and they're like way overly salted, and they don't even taste that good. But for some reason, the marriage of all three of those things, even though they don't taste particularly good, like you can enjoy them a little bit. They're actually like, for some reason, it's like the setting makes them taste better. Kind of like when you get them at like a movie theater. I totally did that once when I went and saw the premiere of The Dark Knight. I definitely got the bastard nachos and the weird, uncomfortably small, not even that tasty personal pizza. And like normally I would have never eaten either one of those things. But it was at like this nicer movie theater that actually had those things, and I was just kind of like, I was kind of, you know, stricken with intrigue over the whole personal pizza thing. And then I was like, well, if I'm gonna get a pizza, I might as well get some nachos and an oversized drink that'll give me diabetes at some point down the line. and so I definitely went with those bastard nachos. But I at least threw in the wild card of having them put jalapenos on there, which made it at least a little bit better. And like normally I hate those types of nachos though, because I hate those chips so bad. Like the cheese doesn't really bother me, even though I know that really no part of it is real. But I definitely, you know, every time you take the first bite of it with the cheese when it's still hot, you're just like, ah, oh, this is actually okay. And then like 5 or 6 or 7 minutes later, when the cheese isn't hot anymore, that's when it really sets in that you have made a huge mistake with your life. And that is at least about 1.28% of everything that's wrong with the world. There's plenty of things wrong with the world, so you definitely can't blame it all on that reheated Ortega cheese that they're using at pretty much every fast food restaurant ever. And there you have it. One thing that's actually game-related, since we're 6 minutes in and I haven't talked about really anything game-related at all. One thing that I do like about these endurance races is that they do actually give you, like, a split of exactly the condition of your tires. This would be so much harder if, like, if they didn't really give you that breakdown, like that visual cue of really what your tires are like, and you just had to pay that much more attention to, like, the way that your car is handling. And be like, man, it just doesn't seem like it's handling the same way it did about 5 or 6 laps ago. Like, I wonder, maybe I should pit right about now. Like, it would be kind of cool if they did that, because it really does force you to be a little bit more, hands-on during this process, because you can totally kind of slack off for a while if you're just not paying attention. Be like, oh, the color's, really kind of orange at this point. I should just go, toss it in there, and not really have that same kind of, visual thing that's like, oh man, okay, well, whatever. But yeah, actually having it to the point where you're like, man, my car just doesn't seem like it's handling just right. Like that would be, it would be kind of cool to do it that way. But I do like it the way that it is, because it's already hard enough to drive the damn car, let alone have to put up with the whole deal of, of keeping up with the way your tires are handling. Kind of interesting, though, that they don't have, like, a gas gauge. I don't know if they implemented that into later titles, just because I really haven't played anything past 2 in a while. I've actually never played... I've never played any one of the ones past 4. So... And I didn't even really play 4 really extensively at all. I played a fair enough amount of 3 to really know, how that one went. Even though it's been probably 5 or 6 years since I played that one either, but... did they really ever incorporate, like actually the idea of needing to use fuel? Like, do you ever have to go to the pit to actually refuel the car like you would in, like, Top Gear, per se? Or is it just all based off of, well, my tires are getting kind of bald here, I should probably do something about that? So, I mean, fuel is a really, that's a really kind of an important thing. Regardless of the condition of your tires, if you're out of fuel, I don't really think you're going to be going much of anywhere. Unless, they've got like methane-powered cars in these games, and you can just fart to keep them going. Because people driving these cars for extended periods of time, man, they'll be letting them fly after a while. Just, let them have some Chipotle or some Taco Del Mar or even Taco Bell. Hey, Taco Bell will give you enough gas. I mean, you'll be right as rain with that unholy union of food options. Basically anything in the Mexican food realm, that thing will blow your sack wide open. Whatever that even means, I'm not really sure. So, somehow that's all tied in. That's all tied in with me enjoying the fact that there's a gauge showing the condition of your tires. It's all in there somewhere. It's all in the bylaws. Just the lay of the land. I'm just saying a lot of random words at this point. Like half of it doesn't even really make any damn sense. I've got to find a way to, like, just keep myself going during these. If you guys have seen some of my other endurance races that I did in, like, Gran Turismo 2, things started to get a little rough in there, where I was just trying to, like, almost keep myself awake sometimes, because just the tedious action of going over and over and over again on a single track for 30 laps, or 60 laps, or 99 laps, depending on what track it would be. Oh. I mean, sometimes you just gotta do that. Meanwhile, we are killing these guys, which is, it's definitely how it should be. If we got a car that's got 400 horsepower more than the guy that's right down the list, I can definitely drive much more Republican on this course. Conservative, Republican, see, I know, Hey, it's not a very hard thing for me to do because, I mean, I actually am a Republican, which by me saying that, I'm sure at least about 1/3 of my fan base has now unsubscribed because it seems like everybody hates Republicans these days. But hey, you know what? I'm not afraid to say it. I'm not afraid to say it. If you guys think that I'm completely insane or I'm, you know, a total asshole for my affiliation, then hey, you know, everybody's entitled to their opinion, and that's okay. But hey, that's just the way it is. I've been that way for my entire life. Don't plan on switching now. So there we go. Okay, enough about politics because I usually totally refrain from talking about that sort of thing. But hey, I had to try to slide the Republican conservative kind of wordplay thing in there, and then whatever. I got into that for about 45 seconds, and that's the extent of what that's going to be. So whatever. But yeah, okay, so back to the whole fuel consumption thing. I mentioned Top Gear as a game that that utilized that, and that game, I totally plan on doing a series of that. It's somewhere in the near future. I have always wanted to do a series of that game. It was actually one little piece of trivia for you. That was actually the very first game that I attempted to make gameplay footage for on this channel. I never uploaded it because it just, like, when I did it, it seemed like, even at that time, even though my early videos are pretty bad, with the exception of Gauntlet Dark Legacy, which is still somehow, by vast majority, my most popular series I've ever done. But it just, at that point, like, when I did it, and I went back and watched it and listened to my audio, it just seemed like I wasn't doing it justice at all. Like, it seemed like I was doing it a huge disservice by doing it that way, just because it was terrible. And no, just in case you guys are, if any of you are wondering, I don't still have the video files for those, so we could see exactly how bad it was. Even though that would be funny, a lot of my really old videos, for some reason, I don't know why I did it back then, but when I got done with the series, I just deleted the raw video and just got rid of them all. I never actually thought about the concept of backing them up, even though if I really wanted to, I could just download the file directly off of YouTube and save it, which I should probably do for a lot of those, but that's a lot of videos to do, too. I mean, I really only started saving videos in the last probably 2.5 years, so I mean, that's literally half my library that's unsaved somewhere. So it's kind of a bummer, but yeah, for some reason I just felt like I didn't need to do that. I just never did it, which kind of sucks, but you know, and that's just the way the world works sometimes. So, but yeah, dude, that was a game. Now that I got way away from that topic again, Top Gear was a game that was so far ahead of its time, man. Like, it was you know, it was kind of one of those earlier titles that utilized the whole, you know, Mode 7, you know, kind of the whole, that whole deal, kind of in the same way that F-Zero did it, with having, like, scrolling backgrounds and all that, and all, like, that layered jazz. And, dude, it was wonderful, because it was really one of the only games I could think of at that time. I'm sure there were probably other ones, but, I mean, Top Gear was like, it's actually still one of my top favorite games of all time. It's quite possibly still at this point my favorite racing game of all time. And you'll definitely, if you've never played it before, play it and you'll understand why. For those of you that have played it, I'm sure you already understand my argument, so there's that. But it was a game that, like, it actually did utilize the idea of fuel consumption and, like, having to pay really close attention to that. Because if you didn't refuel your car on races where it was necessary, you were absolutely so knee deep in the shit. It was insane. It's so much fun though. Oh my god, a lot of those races are actually really challenging, especially if you play it on on harder difficulties outside of just amateur. Like, there's definitely some that are on the easiest difficulty that are still extremely hard to actually finish in first place, like Rio and Tokyo, and when you do the Kyoto race, and even things like Bordeaux, France is a really hard one, or yeah, there's a bunch of them. There's a lot of really hard races in there to actually finish in first in, because the game was kind of designed for it to actually, you know, force you into a weird situation like that where not all the races are easy. But yeah, dude, just the idea of the fuel consumption and having different cars in the game with with different handling and different rates of fuel consumption and different acceleration points and different max speeds. Oh god, it was simply wonderful. Like, I wish that they would have adapted that into an actual arcade cabinet. I don't know if they ever did that, but if they did, that would be so cool. Obviously, I don't think it was ever done. I think it was just a game that was exclusive for the Super Nintendo. But I mean, there were other similar games out there, but I feel like that one, in my own personal opinion, definitely did it the most justice. Or at least it was the best like version of that, especially for the time. So what's going on? Meanwhile, we're actually doing pretty good. We could actually, if I do this, which the way that I'm probably going to, I'm gonna try to knock out 10 laps per video for this, just so we can get in and out of this first one, this first endurance race in 3 videos. I really want to try to limit the length of these things as much as possible. I mean, these things, we're gonna have to do 2 more of these after this one before we get into that final GT league. So, and not to mention the next endurance race that we do is probably gonna take me probably a couple more videos, because I mean, we're going to be using a car more than likely with not as much horsepower, so it'll take me a bit longer to get through with it. But I would say, all things considered, obviously there was no possible way we were going to blow this thing, just considered that we're massively overpowered in comparison to the competition here. I feel like I'm actually doing pretty good. Like, I feel like I'm actually learning how to drive on this course just a little bit better. Obviously not as good as I could be. Ideally, there should be a point where I can take all of these corners and not hit the barriers out here. But I mean, it's still hard to do that in a car with this type of power in it. So, but other than that, I mean, I feel like I'm actually doing pretty well here. I mean, obviously there are people that would wipe the floor with me at this point, but we're hanging in there. We're hanging in there. It's not like my times are getting significantly worse. I mean, my best time is only 2 seconds faster than my last couple of laps here. So we're definitely we're getting there. We are getting there. Maybe somewhere in one of these last 2 laps we can have a new fastest lap record. It'd be kind of nifty if we could do it. Ooh, baby, there we go. There we go. Actually, it's gonna be right around 20 minutes when we get done with it. Yep, I can feel it now. These tires are starting to fail me a little bit, as you can tell. I mean, one of them's definitely getting to be that Kraft mac and cheese orange over there. Back right tire though, that one's definitely not getting a whole lot of action back there. I mean, it's definitely yellow, but it's taking the least amount of work so far. Okay, here we go. We're going. I have no idea how much I'm up by. I'm sure it's a bunch. I'm trying to focus so much on getting through this lap that I just really haven't even paid any attention to the mini-map down there. I can see that the distance between me and the other guys, at least, I mean, I'm on one side of the map, they're on the other side of it. That's all you need to know in terms of how much I'm up by. It's what we would call in the business significant. Okay, here we go. There we go. Oh wow, that thing is really, really darkening over there. That thing is. Yeesh. I think when we start up the next episode, we'll definitely hit the pits. We will do it. Not like the armpits. Nobody's gonna be hitting me in the armpits unless it's me, because it would be really awkward if somebody just like walked up and punched me in the armpit. Like they lifted my arm and then just socked me right in the pit. Right in the pit. Just a weird place to punch somebody. It'd be like as weird as punching somebody in the hip. It's just like a really awkward place to do that. Or like punching somebody in the shin. Just like, I don't know. There's like just places where it just seems really awkward to punch somebody. Just like it'd be really awkward to kick somebody in the arm. Or, that's really only like one of the weirder spots. I feel like it's not as awkward to kick somebody in most other places. Like kicking somebody in the leg at least makes variable amounts of sense if you're doing like MMA, or kicking somebody in the midsection makes at least a fair amount of sense for what it's worth, because you can break ribs that way. And kicking somebody in the head, if you're going for that knockout, if you're going for the knockout blow, that's usually a pretty efficient one. But kicking somebody in the arm just seems like a very obscure, a very obscure way to deliver a message. Like, don't you dare! Or you're gonna get my foot right in your bicep. Just, I don't know. That's one that just doesn't really add up very well. Man, this is we got quite a weird, quite the potpourri of colors there. We got that blood red, we got the orange. Kind of looks like a fruit bowl right now. We got them strawberries, the mandarin oranges, maybe like some melon, and maybe like a banana for that yellow over there. It actually sounds not too bad. I could go for that. I could be down with that. Everybody can go for a decent fruit bowl every once in a while. And I mean, if you don't really want the fruit, itself, just throw it in a blender, drink it. It's just as good that way. Probably even better, because then you can throw some coconut Malibu rum in there, and oh, you got yourself a fine evening by yourself or with someone else. If you're trying to get down with your bad self. Okay. Oh nope, we're gonna call it good right here. Okay, guys. Well, we have run out of time for this episode, but when we come back on the next installment of Let's Play Gran Turismo, the Ultimate Driving Simulator, we're going to go through laps 11 through 20. So, it'll be good. We're going to start the thing off by hopefully making it into the pits, because we got some pretty shoddy handling right now. It wouldn't surprise me if we actually tried to get in there and the car just wouldn't respond, and we just kind of like slam into the little wall right there that's separating them, and we just don't do it. We got to like back up and go in there. So, who knows? Who knows? But until then, my friends, at least the first 10 laps actually were quite successful. I feel like we did really well there. All things considered, since we're vastly overpowered and whatnot. But you guys take care. I'm going to go inside and go get something to drink because I am parched. So you guys take it easy, and I'll see you next time. Bye.